conforms to the laws of physics and how we know that, like the things that we know how the world operates, that would be more reasonable than to say, oh, I'm just going to pontificate and say, oh, it's got to be this God that is all powerful and has these maximal properties. That's what created the universe. You're making a big leap in logic.
No, actually, here's this thing. This is my point.
Wouldn't you be making a big leap as well to say that?
What leap am I making?
That you don't know? Like,
what?
Like what?
I'd like to do something after this if the mods.
Please do.
Yeah, I'd rather hear what Piper's got to say. Yeah, go ahead, Piper.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, this is just fucking gibberish
Jason,
from these
here's
people.
here's the thing.
I agree. I mean, Jason. I mean, I don't know.
Can you just stop for let Piper?
But go ahead, Piper. Yeah, Jason. I think.
All right, thank you. So the issue here is like, okay, so you're saying, all right, well, I believe in God because God is an explanation for the existence of the natural world, right? Whatever, like just the natural world simpliciter, right? And what Jason is saying is, okay, well, I'm not, convinced that the natural world needs some sort of external explanation, right? So the only way that you're going to be able to motivate the conclusion that you have is if you tell us why the natural world needs some sort of external explanation for its existence. Because external explanation is going to bottom out for you as well, since you don't think God has an external explanation.
Yeah, but I mean, that would be to the personal level, though, to the individual. Right now, if Jason is taking more of the side that he actually wants to know, then that would be a different thing to go farther and explain that. That's why I think Arsalan is asking, like, what is it something that will convince you if you really desire to know, right? So, I mean, if you say that I don't know, and that's the simplest way I could take without having to give a credit to a creator, that's fine, Jason. But you cannot discredit Arsenal or me or any theist to believe that there's a creator, right? That's all I'm saying, Jason. I'm not saying that your belief is false, but you can't discredit just because you say I don't know.
Well, I mean, look, you have some claim that you think that it is more reasonable that God is the reason or creation for what we see, as opposed to me saying I think there's a naturalistic explanation, and just because I cannot provide all the details of that doesn't mean that my position is less reasonable than yours. So I'm just waiting for whatever evidence that you have that you think it's more reasonable or parsimonious that God is the explanation as opposed to naturalistic processes. So Scott, because give the evidence for that, or reason.
The only thing that you can you're saying is the naturalistic way, is that the only way that you can explain is something that you see, right? And that the theists are saying, right, something that's outside of the unseen world, right, the unseen thing. And you're saying is, well, we're saying is, hey, because of there's so many things that are unseen outside of the natural world, we believe that God is the cause of all this. But then you're saying is, right, I don't know, and that's the simple way of I could take it as. And that's because of
so many things, would you say, because of so many things that we know exist outside of the natural world, what things do we know that are outside
the natural and the unnatural world?
The supernatural. You mean super? Are you saying supernatural?
Supernatural, sure. But,
yeah.
but
give me an example.
You would even agree.
Look, just give me an example. Dude, just give me an example of something supernatural.
Is there things?
Why are you giving a question? Why are you asking a question?
Do you know all things?
Why are you asking a question?
No.
Exactly. So you're limited in your knowledge, right?
Sure. Give me an example. Look, I answered your question.
That doesn't.
Look, dude, I answered your question. You talked about something supernatural. Give me an example of something supernatural.
I mean, I'm a Christian, so I would say like the scripture presents like angel, right? And the things also God Himself is a supernatural being.
Yeah. What evidence do you have that angels exist?
If I have evidence, right, if I can explain to you with my simple, like, explanation, then it wouldn't be a supernatural thing.
Okay, so it's just
the reason that we're saying
like a God of the gaps that
it's
fucking
super. Exactly, that's what I'm saying, right? you don't know a lot of things. You're limited in your knowledge, but you can
Fine.
simply say God doesn't exist. I think that's very contradiction. Like it's a very
It's very
biased.
contradiction.
It's a contradictory word, like to say that, right?
What's
To
contradictory?
say you know you don't know everything, but you
Right.
know something. That's literally
Right.
what you're saying.
Wait a minute. Maybe I should be clear. Like my view is that I don't accept or believe in the proposition that God exists. That means that I don't believe that God exists. That's my view. It's a belief. I don't believe that God exists. I think that all the evidence that I see around me points to the fact that God does not exist. That doesn't mean that God, I mean, I guess God could exist. It's not impossible, but I don't believe that God does exist. I think that the evidence points all towards there not being a God existing. You think, but on the other hand,
I said the
you,
opposite.
well, yeah, but wait a second. You don't say, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'll bet that your position is not that you believe that God exists, but it's possible that God does not exist. You believe with 100% certainty that God exists. Am I correct?
Correct.
Oh, okay. So you believe with 100% certainty that God exists, and I say I don't believe that God exists, but I am open to exploring whatever options. Even you have to present, first of all, like for supernatural entities, you have to present a methodology that would allow me to evaluate whether something is supernatural or not. But it sounds like you have the unreasonable position because you are accepting something with 100% certainty. You're unable to even look at any other options. And
Yeah, I mean,
my-
you're one
and
of
that-
the atheists.
that is a
actually would
fanatical
say-
view.
Jason.
That is a fanatical view.
Jason, but
You are one of the atheists that would actually say the possibility for God to exist, but a lot of atheists would say that God does not exist at all, right? But with your understanding, listen, with your
Most
understanding,
atheists take this kind of view.
I mean, not that I mean, yes, they.
Well, you can ask
some,
other
not
atheists
all,
here.
not all.
Yeah, you
But,
can ask other atheists here.
Honey, would you believe the possibility God
I
existed?
support Jason. What Jason said, I agree with Jason.
Yeah, I do.
Because there-
Yeah. So, it
Well, you're,
seems to me
Hans,
the
you're
big
not an atheist.
disconnect.
Hans, you're not an atheist.
Just
Roy,
hang
but-
on. No, I'm not. I am a theist, but here's the big disconnect here. People assuming that God is omniscient and omnipotent and created the universe. When people say that, well, you've obviously not read the Bible objectively because the universe is not even mentioned once. Unicorn is mentioned 9 times in the Bible. Universe, not once. It never says that God created the universe. Not the God of Abraham. Nor, I mean, how in the world would you think God is omniscient and omnipotent when he says, yeah, I regret making humans and now I'm going to kill them, most all of them off. Or, now I'm going to have to nuke Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, no, he's working with these imperfect creatures in a process that he's trying to perfect into becoming noble so they take care of his creation. It's that simple.
So, are
That's
you
it.
saying he didn't create the universe? I'm confused.
No, would you show me in the Bible where God created?
Okay, Michael, Fred, you want to come up and say anything? Because you may not like what you're about to hear. But I'm going to read from the Book of Wisdom or Folly and contrast what I'm about to read with what you just listened to. And I'm creating YouTube videos, by the way. Okay, this is called On Certain Arts Magic. De Quibuzdam Artibus Magicis. Now, of those operations of magic by which thou seekest to display unto some other person the righteousness of thy will, I make haste to instruct thee. First, if thou have a reasonable link with him by word or letter, it is most natural simply to create in thyself as I have taught a child or bud will, and let that radiate from thee through the channel aforesaid. But if thou have no links, the case is otherwise, and is not easy. Here thou mayst make communication through others, as it were by relays, or thou mayst act directly upon his aura, by magical means such as the projection of thy Sinlaika. But unless he be sensitive and well attuned, thou mayst fare but ill. Yet even in this case thou mayst attain much skill by practice with intelligence. In the end it is better altogether to work wholly within thine own universe, slowly and with firm steps advancing from the center, and dealing one by one with those unharmonized parts of the not-self, which lie close to thee, and impinge upon thee. This therefore closeth the circle of my speech. For now I am returned to that which I spake aforetime concerning the general method of love, and thy development by that way. On the great work De Magno Opere. But now give ear most eagerly, thou son of my loins, for I will now discourse unto thee of thine own attainment, without which all is but idleness. Know first that conscious thought is but phenomenal, the noise of thy machine. Now chemistry or alchemy meaneth the Egyptian science, and the true magic of Egypt hath this for its foundation. We have in our house many substances which act direct upon the blood, and many practices of virtue similar to simulate, compose, purify, analyze, direct, or concentrate the thought. Confer the book of the law, chapter 2, verse 22, but this action is subtle and of many modes, and dependeth heavily on the conditions of the experiment, whereof the first is thine own will therein. Therefore I say unto thee that this is thy work, immediate and necessary, to discover openly thy will unto thyself, and to fortify and enkindle it by all one-pointedness of thought and action, so that thou mayst direct it inwards unto its core, that is thyself is thy name, had it, for thereby is thy will made white with heat, so that no dross may cling to it. But this work is the great work, and standeth alone. On the steps to the great work, De Gradibus ad Magnum Opus. This great work is the attainment of the knowledge and conversation of thine holy guardian angel. In the eighth ether is the way thereof revealed. But I say, prepare thyself most heartily and well for that battle of love by all means of magic. Make thyself puissant, wise, radiant in every system, and balance thyself well in thine universe. Then with a pure will tempered in the thousand furnaces of thy trials, burn up thyself within thyself. In the preparation thou shalt have learned how thou mayst still all thoughts, and reach ecstasy of trance in many modes. But in these marriages thy conscious self is bridegroom, and the not-self bride, while in this great work thou givest up that conscious self as bride to thy true self. This operation is then radically alien from all others, and it is hard, because it is a total reversal of the current of the will and a transmutation of its formula and nature. Here, O my son, is the one secret of success in this great work. Invoke often on the formula of the moon, de formula lunae. Thus then concerning operations of the Tao with the Yang and the Yin, is there enough? For thine own art of beauty shall divine for thee, and devise new heavens. But in all these is the formula of the serpent with the head of the lion, and all this magic is wrought by the radiance and creative force thereof. And this force leapeth continually from plane to plane, and break forth from his bonds, so that constraint is labor. Now then learn that the yin hath also a formula of force, and the nature of the yin is to be still and to encircle or limit, and it is a mirror reflecting diverse images without change in its own kind. So then it seeketh never to overleap the barriers of its plane. For this reason it is well to use it in operations of a very definite and restricted type. But although it be inert, yet is it most subject to change, for its number is 81, which is of the moon, and these are Alim, Alim, the gods elemental before H, descending in the midst, made them creative. So then thou mayest use constantly this formula to rearrange things in their own planes, and this is a most pragmatic consideration. Pragmatic is spelled with a tick at the end, T-I-C-K, like magic. Pragmatic. Der Killer Sumenda, on the consuming eagle. Take in this work, the eagle all undefiled and virginal for thy sacrament. And thy technique is the magic of water, so that thine act is of nourishment and not of generation. Therefore the prime use of this art is to build up thine own nature. But if thou hast skill to control the mood of the eagle, then mayst thou work many an admirable effect upon thine environment. Thou knowest how great is the fame of witch women, old and without man, to cause events, although they create nothing. It is this straightness of the channel which giveth force to the stream. Beware, O my son, lest thou cling overmuch to this mode of magic, for it is lesser than that other, and if thou neglect that other, then is thy danger fearful and imminent, for it is the edge of the abyss of Coronzon, where are the lonely towers of the Black Brothers. Also the formulation of the object in the eagle is by a species of intoxication, so that his nature is a dream or delirium, and thus there may be illusion. For this cause I deem it not wholly unwise if thou use this way of magic chiefly as a cordial, that is for the fortifying of thine own nature. On chemical agents according to the 4 elements. De medicinis secundum quatuor elementa. Concerning the use of chemical agents, and be mindful that thou abuse them not, learn that the sacrament itself relateth to spirit, and the 4 elements balance thereunder in its perfection. See also thy lion, himself hath a 4-fold menstruum for his serpents. Now to fire belong cocaine, which fortifieth the will, loosening him from bodily fatigue. Morphine, which purifieth the mind, making the thought safe and slow and single. Heroin, which partaketh, as it seemeth, of the nature of these twain aforesaid, albeit in degree less notable than either of them. And alcohol, which is food, that is fuel for the whole man. To water attribute hashish and mescal, for they make images, and they open the hidden springs of pleasure and of beauty. Morphine, for its ease, hath also a part in water, ere ruleth ethyl oxide, for it is a sword, dividing asunder every part of thee, making easy the way of analysis, so that thou comest to learn thyself of what elements thou art compact. Lastly, of the nature of earth are the direct hypnotics, which operate by repose, and restore thy strength by laying thee as a child in the arms of the Great Mother, I say rather of her material and physiological vice-regent. That's on chemical agents according to the 4 elements. This is on the virtue of experience in this art. De virtute experientiae in hac arte. Not sleep, not rest, not peace, not contentment are the will of the hero, but these things he hateth, and consenteth to enjoy them only with shame of his weak nature. But he will analyze himself without pity, and he will do all things soever that may free and fortify his mind and will. Know that the technique of the right use of these magic poisons is subtle, and since the nature of every man differeth From that of his fellow there entereth idiosyncrasy, and thine experience shall be thy master in this art. Heed also this word, following the right use of these agents is to gain a knowledge preliminary of thine own powers and of high state, so that thou goest not altogether blindly and without aim in thy quest, ignorant of the keys to thine own inner being. Also thou must work alway for a definite end, never for pleasure or for relaxation, except thou wilt as a good knight is sworn to do, and thou being hero and magician art in peril of abusing the fiery agents only, not those of earth, air, or water, because these do really work with thee in purity, making thee holy what thou wouldst be, an engine indefatigable, a mind clear, calm, and concentrated, and a heart fierce aglow. And the true sacrament de sacramento vero. But in the sacrament of the gnosis, which is of the spirit, is there not hurtful, for its elements are not only food, but a true incarnation and quintessence of life, love, and liberty. And at its manifestation thy lion is consecrated by pure light of ecstasy. Also, as this is the strongest, so also it is the most sensitive of all things soever, and both proper and ready to take impressive will, not as a seal passively, but with true recreation in a microcosm thereof. And this is a God alive and puissant to create, and he is a word of magic, wherein thou mayst read thyself with all thine history and all thy possibility. Also as to thine eagle, is not this chosen by nature herself by her way of attraction, without which harmony, aesthetic and magnetic, thy lion is silent and inert, even as Achilles before his rage in his tent. Now also, therefore, I charge thee, O my son, to partake constantly of the sacrament, for it is proper to all virtue, and as thou dost learn to use it in perfection, thou wilt surpass all other modes of magic. Yea, in good sooth, no herb or potion is like unto this, supreme in every case, for it is the true stone of the philosophers, and the elixir and medicine of all things, the universal tincture or menstruum of thine own will. And directing disciples de discipulis regendis. I will have thee to know moreover, my dear son, the right art of conduct with them whom I shall give thee for initiation, and the rule thereof is one rule. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. See thou constantly to it that this be not broken, especially in the section thereof. I dare say so, which readeth mind thine own business. This is of application equally to all, and the most dangerous man or woman, as hath occurred, or I err, is the busybody. Oh, how ashamed are we, and moved to indignation, seeing the sins and follies of our neighbors. Of all the occasions of this grievance, the most common is the desire of sex unsatisfied. And thou knowest already, even in thy young experience, how in that delirium the wheel of the whole universe appeareth of no account. Do thou then wean thy babes from that simplicity, and instil the sense of true proportion, for verily this is a way of madness, love, unless it be under will. And the cure of this madness is not so good as its prevention, so that thou shouldst be beforehand with these children, showing them the right importance of love, how it should be a sacred right, exalted above personality, and a fire to enlighten and serve man, not to devour him. And certain diseases of disciples. De quibusdam morbis discipulorum. And thus, if any babe of thine be ill at ease, look closely first whether this love be not the root of his distemper. Watch also idleness. For whoso presseth eagerly forward in will heedeth little the affairs of his fellows. O my son, if every man doth his own will, there is no more to say. But the busybody nor mindeth his own business, nor leaveth others to mind theirs. Be thou instant therefore with such an one to cure him by enlightening his will, spending and speeding him therein. Remember also that if one speak ill of another, the fault is first of all in himself. For we know not but that which is within us. Did not the great witch-finder end by confessing that he also was a sorcerer? We become that which obsesseth us, either through extreme hate or extreme love. Knowest thou not how the one is a symbol of the other? For this reason, since love is the formula of life, we are under bond to assimilate in the end that which we fear or hate. So then we shall be wise to mold all things within ourselves in quietness and modulation. But above all, must we use all to our own end, adapting with adroitness even our weakness to the work. And watching for faults in the house. De culpis domi pretendis, therefore, watch heedfully the fault of another, that thou mayst correct it in thyself. For if it were not in thee, thou couldst not perceive it or understand it. Lo, in thine ecstasy of love thou callest upon the universe to bear witness that to this end alone was it created. It is unthinkable that thou shouldst love another, and incomprehensible that any man should grieve. Yet ere the moon change her quarter, thou art free of thy lunes, and lovest another, and it may be grievest in thyself, while he that amazed thee hath joined the company of the rejoicing. Watch then, and heed thyself, and pay no heed to thy fellows, in so far as they impede thee not. And let this be the rule, for every will is pure, and every orbit free, but error bringeth confusion. See therefore that none leave his path, lest he foul that of his brother. And remember also that with speed cometh ease of control. Let each man therefore urge briskly his chariot in a right line toward the center, for two radii cannot cross. And beware most of this love, because it lieth so close to will, that disease thereof easily impereth his error to the whole way of the magician. And the body that is the shadow of man, de corpore umbra homini. Concerning the aeon, O my son, learn that the sun and his vice-regent are in all aeons of necessity, father, center, creator, each in his sphere of operation. But the formula of the past aeon was of the dying god, and was based upon ignorance. For men thought that the sun died and was reborn alike in the day and in the year, and so also was the mystery of man. Now already are we well assured by science how the death of the sun is in truth but the shifting of a shadow. And in this aeon, O my son, I lift up my voice, and I make prophecy. So shall it be proven as to death, for the body of man is but his shadow. It cometh and goeth even as the tides of ocean, and he only is in darkness, who is hidden by that shadow from the light of his true self. Now therefore understand thou the formula of Horus, the lion god, the child crowned and conquering, that cometh forth in force and fire. For thy changes are not phases of thee, but of the phantoms which thou mistakest for thyself.
convinced otherwise.
I doubt it, actually. I mean, I was basically atheistic before then. My parents were not particularly religious. I was not raised with any knowledge of any particular religion.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, you know, I don't know your personal experience, but if like you had a near-death experience and like, you know, you, like a lot of people have like were death or near death, like no vital signs, and they report that they had some type of, you know, experience, and then they were revived, and that led them to believe in a God. Is that something similar, like with you? Like you had a near-death experience, and it was something like that, and now you believe in a God or something like that. Is that right?
That is correct. The